All right. I just got word that I am COVID free. Therefore, I'm back at work tomorrow of all time. So, my plan to use the next couple days to see if I can slaughter this gaming rig setup isn't going to happen very easily. But what I will do is go through what it is so that you'll know where I'm aiming. All right? So let us go over to the garage here. What I've got going on is, for a gaming rig, I have a Hewlett-Packard Z600. Now, there's a neat little website I found, which is, what is it called? greenpcgamers.com, where they list older workstations and the like, which could possibly work as gaming rigs. And I have a bit of an issue wherein I enjoy looking at scrap tech at the recyclers. And there was one of those there. So I thought, well, that's stuff that's in my budget, you know. Items people have been discarding effectively. It is an older machine. Let's pull it out. So here, let's put it out in the sunlight. Ba, ba, ba. There it is. Ta-da! So as you can see, it actually can be rack mounted as well. Doesn't have much on it. This guy's got this one does have a video card. Not a very decent one. No memory to speak of. But it was well below $100. And having saved up for a while for my ideas projects, and yeah, I went for it, picked it up. Now this guy, it's a dual processor. What is it? I can't remember what the coding is for the socket. Anyway, it uses the Xeon 55 series processors, and it's got two slower ones in it, like 2.3 or something gigahertz. However, from greenpcgamers.com, they've tried it out with the 5575 3.04 gigahertz Xeon processors. So I picked this machine up and went, okay, well, how much for these higher speed processors? Well, you know, 30 to almost the sky's the limit for a price on eBay or wherever. So I just was patient and kept my eyes open. And next thing I knew, a Sunfire blade server here came up. Guess what dual processors this guy has? Yeah, it's got the X5575s in it. Now that, from Green PC Gamers, is the top end processor that will work in there. And this being $15, yeah, that's a pretty good price for a couple processors. Yay. So there was that, and that was awesome. I now had the base machine and the processors. Memory was needed. So I started to look around, and memory seems to be really pricey still. The guys on Kijiji who had memory and stuff, they wanted a huge amount for it. And so that was frustrating and disappointing because, like I said, I have no budget. I did find a couple pieces on eBay, and I sucked it up and spent about $40, I think. Again, had to wait and save up and spent that on it. got a little bit of memory. And then there was a local guy, and he had a bunch for sale. And I was like, oh, this will be awesome. I can afford, well, again, some time had passed, and I was like, oh, I can afford 2 sticks. It was server memory, so it was registered memory, but it was 8 gig sticks. Yes, this will be awesome. I'll be able to at least get the memory up there. I was thinking, well, this machine has 6 slots. It's capable of, 96 gigs of RAM, as long as it's registered memory. So with the 6 slots, I figured, I found some cheap stuff at the recyclers for like $10, but it's 2 gig sticks. So I thought, well, if I can get it up to 16, it should work okay. But here was this guy on Kijiji who had 14 sticks at 8 gig. I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. If I can get a couple of those, boost it up. And then I called, said, hey, can I get a couple of those? But you'll have to wait for a month because I got to get some more cash together. And he was like, yeah, sorry, this other guy wants to buy all 14 sticks and I'm going with him. So I said, hey, no problem. Your goal is to get it out the door. Awesome. Thanks for telling me. And about a week later, he wrote back and said, yeah, the other guy backed out. You can have them. So I'm going to wind up with 48 gigs of RAM. Didn't cost me anything. I'm going to have the highest processors. So all that was left is video card. It took me a minute to find the one graphics card I found. Again, it was a Kijiji purchase, a GTX 570. Not a super fast graphics card, but way faster than what's in it right now. Way more capable. So it's older. And that was quite a deal. Well, compared to what other people have been asking. I don't know what it is with graphics cards, but everyone on Kijiji is asking, like, well, most of the time they're asking for $80 to $100 for like this one. And yeah, it's older, guys. Like, it's only a 2 gig video card, and it's not anywhere near top of the line. But they're wanting, like I said, $100 for it, $75 to $100. This guy, the fellow was willing to give up for $35, which was nice. But since then, I had another fellow who had a GTX 680 for $20. So again, by then I had rebuilt up a little bit of the stock month cash I had to put towards this, and so yeah, I picked that up. And that's actually just slightly below the one we've got in our household gaming machine. And there's the RAM chips, the RAMs that I'm going to be using. So I actually have 14 of them. There will be enough for me to fill up this machine, of course, and it'll have probably enough to pretty much fill up. Well, if I put in the lower values I got, I'll have enough to actually fill up the server. I'm going to swap processors. The servers, they say it makes a good, can be a good web server. Not that I wish to necessarily run my own website, but if I decided to, well, I've got the hardware now. All right. So yeah, drives. That was the other thing. It's all nice having a computer, but without hard drives, well, not much is going to happen, right? You can't save anything. What I did manage to find, which is over here, it was one of these video processors. Not that one. I think it was that one. It had a 2 gig, or the bottom one. It had a 2 gig drive in it. So I made an offer of $5, and they said sure. So I picked it up, and then they were shocked when they said $5, was this going to be any good to you? And I'm like, well, yeah, it's got a 2 gig drive in it. 2 gig? What am I saying? Oh, I'm showing my age. Try that again. So I went and I found one of these video servers. Like, I think it was that one or the bottom one. It had a 2 terabyte drive in it. And I made an offer of $5 and they said, sure. So when I was picking it up, they were like, well, what good is that to you? And I'm like, well, it has a 2 terabyte drive. So for $5, that was a pretty good deal. And they were like, oh yeah. Because, I mean, they're not in business to lose money. They could see right away that they missed out. Sadly, ever since then, they've pulled the drives and sold them separately. So maybe I diddled myself right there. Anyhow, that's the computer project. So I will have a 2 terabyte drive. I'll have a fairly up-to-date graphics card. Oh yes, I have another drive for going in here too. I picked up one of those little what is it called? The EE box. Anyway, it's just a tiny PC. It's kind of like the ones you'll see in hotels for running their televisions and their little in-room network things. A little EE box. And it has a, 320 gig solid state drive in it. So that was $10. So what I can do is I can put the solid state drive in here for the operating system. I can put the 2 terabyte drive in for storage. And then I guess the big bullet to bite is going to be the operating system. Because this will need, quite likely, at least Windows 10. Because it's going to be a 60, well, with the 2 processors, we got 12 core, 64 bit stream, and yeah, that's going to be the hard one. I have to save for a while for that, because that's $100 and some just for a home use. And of course I tried to find where I could, get it less online and stuff, but yeah, they're just people selling key codes, and good chance you'll spend your $50 and then just have nothing for it. It's quite the clever business model, wherein it'll be so much hassle to try and install it that it could be cheaper and less trouble to buy a new machine. But I don't like that idea. Our electronic wastage is insane, especially with machines that yes it is 2009 this model came out, so that's like 11 years ago. So it's an 11-year-old PC, which for the past several decades should have meant that this isn't even a doorstop. But this one has the horsepower to keep going. The other advantage is that we kind of like trying to do video editing and the like, and this sucker should have the horsepower to grind through a lot of rendering and any digital arts that we care to do. So we should be set up quite well. I've got quite an assortment of keyboards that I've picked up here and there. I should be able to dump those once we get it set up. I also have a dual monitor stand, and I'm keeping my eyes open now to try and find a couple monitors. They don't have to be extreme, like 50-inch monitors or anything, but I'm looking for something at least 20, probably more like 22 to 24 inch. I can slap them on the stand. The graphics cards I've got can easily run 2. Actually, the GTX 680 can run 3 monitors, but I think I'll only run the 2. And yeah, then we can start doing some gaming on the budget. Like I said, the operating system coming in at over $100 is probably going to double the cost of the build. Because right now where are we? With the extra memory chips I bought, we might be over $100 now in total. But to have a semi-up-to-date gaming machine, okay, it's not even remotely up-to-date, let's face it, but it will run most modern games for under $200, or for about $200 isn't too bad. Oh, right, the monitors. Yeah, that'll add. The one place I'm looking at has a couple surplus monitors, and they're $40, 40 some bucks a piece, so it's another $100. So we're looking $300 to have a dual monitor, 3 gigahertz gaming system with 48 gigs of RAM, 2 terabyte drive, 300 some gig solid state drive, and it's a Hewlett Packard. Yay. And we will see how it goes. That is the goal. It's going to probably take a while, like I said. I thought I might have had the next few days off, but I do not. There's also been some things on what is it, Green PC Gamers, which noted that it's possible with the processors I want to put in here, the cooling system won't work. So I've also been eyeballing some liquid cooled, like water cooling systems to install if I have to. I'll give it a shot otherwise, like with regular, and we'll see what happens. They were saying it might not even fire up if it doesn't detect the high capacity coolers, but it remains. We'll have to see. We'll just have to see. I'm hoping it'll work. We are at a bit of a higher altitude here, so the air density is a little lower. The cooling may not be as effective. I'll of course be cleaning out all the vanes and everything on the cooler and swapping processors, and we'll see if we can fire both up, because I'd hate to waste the server just because I stole its processors. I'm not even sure if that one will fire up if I put the wrong processors in. Put the slower processors in. But if it does, hey, grand. That would be quite the video server. I think that one for sure can take 96 gigs of RAM. Not that I have it. Not that I'm going to spend a couple $100 on 16 gig chips either. It's like, no. But yeah, that is the project. So, not the easiest project, but not that bad either. I think I've got all the components I'm going to need. Now it's just the time, because each stage is going to require a certain amount of time. It's not something I feel I could, go halfway. Like, okay, I'm going to remove the processors and just leave them laying around the garage while I do other things for the rest of the week because I'm busy, and then come back and put one in on the weekend or anything. I want to have a good day, let's say, just to set aside just to do the processor swap out. Clean them up, put the heat compound on, get them all installed and strapped down, and before I do that, get everything cleaned up out from inside the boards, everything like that. I will probably just do a time lapse of when I do that, so that no one has to sit and watch me faff about forever. This is rambling enough, but yeah, it should be fun. It should be interesting. I guess trying to stick with my philosophy of, if people put it together, people should be able to take it apart and make it work again. This isn't rocket science, really. It's, it should be fun and interesting. And if it does cook, it's not like I spent $1,200 on fancy equipment. Oh, and if anyone happens to have a cheap, GTX 1060, apparently that's the maximum video card this sucker will handle. If you got one laying around that you want to just send over, I'll plug it in. We'll see what this puppy can do. I'm not holding my breath though, for sure. All right, we will try and keep progressing on this and post updates as I have them. Thanks.